Hey y'all, what's up? Coach Paul here. God has qualified me. This is Move Mondays, and you have greatness in you. Now, before we get to talking about that greatness, I gotta say this. If you don't move, that person, those people, those places, those things, those thoughts, those ideas, or those ways, Coach Paul promises you this. They are definitely gonna move you, and you don't want to move where they're gonna move you to. All right, get on with the content of today. Now, I told y'all before, I'm going to start to drop nuggets every now and then, possibly every episode. Anyway, let me get to this nugget that I want to mention today. So last episode, it talked about if you don't position yourself to be called on, you'll end up being on call, right? And I want to just kind of go a little bit more be a little bit more descriptive about what I mean when I said on call. And here goes. On call means that when ain't nobody else available, they'll call you. Y'all better catch that. All right. Let's talk about what we're going to be talking about this week. So, I am a recovery and relationship coach. And last week, maybe about a week ago, the Holy Spirit was speaking to me. And God said, I gave you a coaching ministry for a reason. I gave you a coaching certification, right? And credential for a reason. You haven't been using it. So today I want to talk about relationships because all of us, right? Again, the Bible talks about how God blew the breath of life in us and we became a living being. So we have greatness in us because God is greatness. The problem with that is that too many of us, we're not walking in the fullness of our greatness because we don't have healthy relationships with that greatness. Excuse me, and I want to talk about that today. So anyway, let's go. Now, the first relationship and the most important relationship that you and I have to have, and can't move without is a healthy relationship with God. And why do I say that? Because here's the thing. Watch this. Now, God is the one. God is greatness. He put the greatness in us, and He's the one who helps us to develop and walk in our greatness. He's the one who puts us in the rooms and at the tables and in the arenas where our greatness can be used, or is supposed to be used. He puts us in these places. So we'll never be able to attain to our greatness without tapping into the one who made it anyway. It's not going to happen. So for all of you people out there who say you're in a relationship with God and you and God got your own thing, do I have to go anymore with that? For all y'all out there who say you have a relationship with God and say that you and God got your own thing, look at where your greatness at. We'll leave that right there. I don't even need to go no further. Anyway, so we have to tap into, that's the first and most important relationship that we have to have, and it has to be healthy. What do I mean by being healthy in relationship with God? Listen, somebody said it like this: if you can talk, you can pray. So we need to talk to God on a regular basis. Watch this. He gave us 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason, so we can listen twice as much as we speak. So we'll talk to God, but we need to listen to him twice as much. So we need to learn how to build a relationship with listening to God, because we have the instructions that we are being given. We don't have to wonder why this world is messed up the way that it is, because we are either half getting the instructions or we're not getting them at all. Watch this. And saying, me and God got our own thing. So there you go. Understand that. Understand that. You will not be able to attain, develop, next level your greatness without a healthy relationship with God. That's first. All right. The second relationship, because again, we have terrible relationships with our greatness. I'm going to prove it. Now, let me make sure that I'll clarify this. This includes me as well, because I'm human just like everybody else. And this is work that I need to be doing. I'm active in doing it right now. Because again, it's like, what needs to move? Who needs to move? Where needs to move? So that we can walk in the fullness of what God has put in us and who he has called us to be, what he has called us to, right? All right. So the second most important relationship that all of us need is a healthy relationship with ourselves. And many of us, that's the poorest relationship we have outside of the one that's with God, that's poor. If you got a poor relationship with you, if you have a poor relationship with yourself, you got to know that your relationship with God is poor too. It's impossible for you to have a healthy relationship with God and a poor relationship with yourself. Impossible. All right, let's go. Now, I want to refer to something that Bishop T.D. Jakes said. I heard him say this a few years ago. He said, we spend a lot of our time praying to God and asking God to send us somebody to spend the rest of their lives with us or spend the rest of our lives with. He said, that's all fine and dandy. He said, the problem with that is that you don't even want to spend a minute with yourself, but you want somebody to spend their lives with you. You don't even know you, or you don't even like you, but you want God to send somebody to spend the rest of their lives with you. And that is so true. Now, if I don't know me, I won't spend no time with me, and I don't like me, tell me, how can I be walking in my greatness? Somebody please comment on that, because tell me what I'm missing. If I won't spend no time with me, right? If I don't know me and I don't even like me, how can I be walking in my greatness? But again, I want God to give me somebody to spend the rest of their lives with me. And so here's how we need to start to do this. Because like I said, the second and most important relationship that you have to build and have healthy is the one with you. How do I do that? First and foremost, relationship with God. Healthy relationship with God. Healthy communication with God. The one, the only, and the true living Yahweh, El Shaddai. Y'all know who he is. Jehovah, Yahweh. Yep, y'all know who he is. So that's first, right? So now how do I start to build a healthy relationship with myself? Well, I make sure that I'm healthy from a spiritual standpoint. Again, with God, we got that healthy, right? The second one is that what is going on with my mental? Am I mentally healthy? Am I emotionally healthy? Am I being guided by my emotions? Because if I'm being guided by my emotions, trust me, I'm gonna miss my greatness. Because my emotions always gonna tell me to do something that's not gonna be healthy. And if I'm guided by my emotions and I'm doing what my emotions telling me, I can't be walking in my greatness. So that's one of the ways that you have to build a healthy relationship with yourself. We all have emotions. We just got to learn how to put those things in their proper places, in the proper perspectives, and make sure that they are the things that guide us. We can't allow our minds and our bodies to guide us. Our minds and our bodies guides us in places that we don't need to be. How do I know? Been there, done it. Spent 30 years as a heroin addict. And that was based off my mind and my body. My mind told me, my body went. So very unhealthy relationship with that. Let me say it like this. Let's go to the wedding vows that we use. I promise to love you for better or worse, for richer, for poor, in sickness and in health, until death do us part, right? This is what we say in the vows that we'll give to our husband or wife or wives on that day that we are getting married. How about you start saying them vows to you first? I promise to love me for better or worse, richer or poor, sickness and in health. How about we build a relationship with those vows to ourselves first? Because watch this. If I really know how to love me, and I'm not talking about this love that the world tells y'all, because this love that the world tells y'all is love me and only me. It's a selfish love. And we got to understand something. If you know God, you know that the love that he talks about is based off what I do. It's based off actions, and it's attached to a feeling, right? That I have for you or towards you. It's attached to that. But my actions supposed to show my love or lack thereof. So when we talk about, again, I promise to love you, let there be an action. Here's the action that we have to take. If you're watch this. If your eating habits or your physical activities have caused you to be on some sort of medication, be it high cholesterol medication, blood pressure medication, or diabetes medication, your love for you has to say, well, I can't eat these things that's causing me to have to take this medication, because there's many of us out there, right? I've been guilty. There's many of us out there that would take the medication and still eat unhealthy. I'm not promising to love me if I'm doing that. You're not promising to love you if you're doing that. Let me say it like this. Most doctors, lots of doctors, teach us to live with the illnesses. God teaches us how to live without them. If I'm a doctor and I make money off you being medicated, what makes you think that I'm gonna give you something that's going to put you in a place where you no longer need my medication? I'm saying all this because these are things that ties into us not walking in the fullness of our greatness. How can I walk in the fullness of my greatness if I have to take all of these different medications in order to function, because my body is messed up? So when we talk about promising to love ourselves, one of the things that I want to strongly encourage is physical strength, physical wellness. You have to build a healthy relationship with being physically well. I was talking to clients the other day, and I said, recovery needs a body. How are you going to exercise a life of recovery? How are you going to live a life of recovery if you don't have a body to do it with? So we have to take care of our bodies. I remember the comedian Monique years ago. The comedian Monique was talking she was being interviewed on a talk show. And this was when she had lost a lot of unhealthy weight, right? And started getting physically fit. And the conversation about that came up. And she said, my husband had told me, he said, I want to be able to spend a whole lot of years on this earth with you, honey. And as it is now, I don't know if that'll be possible. And that's when she said, you know what? I need to make sure I do something about this. And she did. Right on, Monique. Do your thing. And I want to say that to each and every one of us. I got some other parts of relationship that I'm going to talk about with you. Because again, I don't want to talk about relationships with your wife or your husband or your kids or them. We need to look in the mirror first and get that relationship right before we can do any other relationships. Let's get this one right and walk in the greatness of this relationship before we start talking about the other ones. And so, because many of us out there are fathers, husbands, grandfathers, great-grandfathers, uncles. Likewise, women are, many of the females out there are mothers and wives and grandmothers and aunts and aunties and all that kind of stuff. And many people in our lives need our light, need us to be walking in our greatness, because some of their greatness development is attached to us. So how am I going to see how to start to walk in and develop my greatness if the person or the people that I'm coming behind are unhealthy? I had to watch this, and I'm gonna get ready to land the plane. I'm almost 11 years into recovery. May 3rd, 2026, I'll be 11 years into recovery and healing. And I remember when I first started this journey, all of my children, except one, were adult. I had to ask God then. I said, God, can you please teach me how to be a dad? Can you please teach me how to be a husband? Can you please teach me how to be a companion? Because I didn't know how to do those things. And I had 10 kids. Like I said, 9 of them were adult. And it's not to shame anyone that I watched as I was growing up. But I came to understand as I got older that all of the examples that I had seen, whether they were supposed to be spiritual or just normal examples of how to be a man, how to be a woman, how to be a husband, how to be a father, all of them were flawed. Nobody, I'm gonna make sure y'all know I'm being 100. Nobody that I grew up watching was walking in their greatness. I knew they had it in them. I didn't know what it was at the time. I knew they had it in them, but nobody I knew, whether in my household or outside of it, nobody I knew was walking in the greatness that God had put inside of them in terms of being, as it related to being a father, a husband, a wife, a mother, a brother, a sister. Nobody I knew. Again, no blow to nobody. I'm just being honest about my upbringing. And some of you all out there can agree. Now, here's the opportunity. Now, watch this. I'm not sitting here poor mean this situation. It is not a poor me or poor Paul. Please, we ain't doing none of that because I've already healed from all that kind of stuff. What this is how do we position ourselves so that we can build these healthy relationships with God and ourselves first so that we can be able to be the lights that God says we are and shine to this dark world. Because like I said, somebody's greatness, their development, their understanding of it, their learning about their greatness is tied to you and me being the healthiest that God has called us to be. Can't get around that. Can't get around that. This is the way it is. This is the way it's going to be. And one of the things I know about God, from my own experiences, he ain't never let me off the hook. So people, like I said, I'm going to talk about some other aspects of a healthy relationship with ourselves that we have to develop in later episodes. But I want to say this to us, to you, to me, and to everybody who's listening to this episode of Move Mondays. What needs to move? Who needs to move? Where needs to move so that you can build healthy relationship with God and yourself first? God and yourself first. Let's have some conversations around that, y'all, because I promise you, if we start having these conversations and being honest about what's really going on, then we can be able to get the solutions so that we can walk in the fullness of the greatness that God put inside of each and every one of us. Because I'm going to say it one more time. Somebody waiting on you to get your stuff together. With that being said, I love every last one of y'all. There's absolutely nothing you can do about it. Until the next time Coach Paul and y'all get together, please be well. Do the next right thing. God bless you all. And if you looking for a butt, it's going to always be easy to find one. With that being said, I'll see y'all next week. Relationships, deuces.